Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our fourth TMA virtual briefing this month with the Illinois gubernatorial candidates. My name is Rich Carter. I'm TMA's government affairs consultant, and I'll be the moderator for today's briefing. Our special guest today is Mayor Richard Irvin, candidate for a Republican nomination for Illinois governor. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for joining us today. With hundreds of state and federal candidates battling for their party's nomination in the June 28th primary election in Illinois, TMA members and their employees are in a great position to help decide who will represent them in Springfield and Washington, D.C. going forward. The most significant race for TMA members on the June 28th primary ballot is undoubtedly the Republican gubernatorial race, with 6 candidates vying to take on incumbent Governor J.B. Pritzker in November. Knowing what's at stake in the race for governor, TMA reached out to the candidates and requested their participation in individual virtual briefings with TMA members. Earlier this month, we held briefings with candidates Jesse Sullivan, Darren Bailey, and Gary Rabine. We're going to spend the next half hour having a conversation with Mayor Irvin to learn why he's running for governor. Before we get started, I wanted to share some background on Mayor Irvin. Richard Irvin was born to a single mother and raised in the projects of Aurora. After high school, he enlisted in the military and became a decorated combat veteran during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Upon his return, he used the GI Bill to put himself through college and earned a law degree from Northern Illinois University School of Law. He served as a prosecutor for both the Cook County and Kane County State Attorney's offices before opening a private practice in Aurora. He was elected to the Aurora City Council in 2007 and became the first African-American of the state's mayor of the state's largest city to be elected mayor in 2017. And he was reelected in 2021. Mayor, can you take a few minutes to share with us why you're running for governor and how you can help TMA members thrive and create good paying jobs for the people of Illinois?
Absolutely, and I appreciate the introduction. And Aurora is the second largest city, in the state. Chicago being the first. We're catching up to Chicago though. I'm running for governor because I want to make a difference in the state. Under J.B. Pritzker, we know so many things are out of control. Crime is out of control, and it's affecting our ability to grow and move forward as a state. Taxes and wasteful spending is out of control, which are affecting our residents and our businesses and affecting our ability to move forward in the state. And the corruption is out of control, preventing the state from doing what it needs to do to get out of the problems that we have in the state. I'm running because I want to make a difference. As mayor of the city of Aurora, I've done a number of positive things to turn around my city. Aurora used to be one of the most violent cities per capita in the state of Illinois with over 30 murders a year. And now we are the 6th safest large city in America by simply making sure we support our police, raise the police budget, reduce crime. We improved our educational circumstances by bringing all of our 6 school districts together to share best practices and resources and best ideas. And we did what's most important. We grew our economy by economic development. We did more economic development in the first 4 years of my time as mayor than other mayors of Aurora have done collectively 40 years before me. And a lot of that was manufacturing, recognizing the importance of manufacturing to our economy, our local economy here in Aurora, and our state economy, as well as our national economy. Matter of fact, we added 1.7 million square feet of manufacturing in my first 2 years as mayor, and didn't stop there. With this education commission that I created, bringing all of our educational resources and school districts together, we talked about the importance of workforce development, and putting Aurora on a 3-track educational plan. 1, not every kid's going to go to college, but we're going to have that college track for those kids that choose to go to college. 2, we're going to have labor and trades back in our high schools again, to make sure that we have a workforce available to work at these manufacturing, and labor jobs that we want. And 3, IT and development, technology, information, and developing IT products is another track we want to go on. And if you focus on those tracks, prepare for a developed workforce in the future, we can make sure that all of our companies, including our manufacturing companies, are successful. And because of that, we brought excitement back to Aurora. We brought energy back to Aurora. We brought pride back to the 2nd largest city in the state of Illinois, and that's exactly what we need for our great state. You know, as governor, I'll make sure we bring that excitement, that energy, that pride back, and grow our economy by supporting our manufacturing, which is, you know, one of the largest industries, you know, in our state. We've got to ensure you're successful. Your success is the state's success. I say that all the time, and I mean it wholeheartedly. So our job is to remove all the barriers, remove all the red tape, remove the silly regulations. I mean, we all want to make sure we keep each other safe, you know, but make sure we are balanced and you're able to do your job and, you know, make your product, provide jobs for you know, this community, your employees, and so they can buy houses and cars and groceries, and that's how the economy works. So your success is our success, and as governor, I want to make sure you're extremely successful.
Thanks so much, Mayor. We now have 3 prepared questions we asked of each of the gubernatorial candidates during their individual briefings. The first question for Mayor Irvin is, Illinois' manufacturing workforce and output is diminishing, while neighboring state statistics are in direct contrast. How specifically would an Irvin administration address this crisis? Mayor?
Oh, absolutely, and it is diminishing, you know, and it's gone from close to 13%, 12.8%, almost down to 12%, you know, in just a few years. And that is because of the lack of support you're getting from this current administration, J.B. Pritzker. When J.B. Pritzker raises taxes, it affects your ability to do your jobs. When J.B. Pritzker puts unnecessary red tape and barriers in front of you, it prevents you from being successful. What we've got to do is remove those barriers, remove that red tape, remove, you know, or reduce those taxes, and in many cases, you know, get rid of them, you know, per certain taxes and fees altogether, because it affects you. You know, and I think everything we do in Springfield, we have to ask the question, how does this affect every decision we make? And they're not asking these questions now. How does this affect, you know, our largest industries in the state? How does this affect agriculture? How does it affect manufacturing? You know, how does it affect it? They're not asking that question, and the decisions they're making are affecting you. We've got to claw back those decisions, you know, and we've got to actually support our businesses and make sure they're successful. Let me tell you what I did in Aurora. The minute I became mayor, I says, listen, we are in an adversarial environment with our businesses and our developers. They don't want to come to Aurora because they don't want to deal with the red tape. They don't want to deal with the barriers. They don't want to deal with the fact that we're treating them like they're the enemy, like it's their job to figure out how to set up shop in the city of Aurora. I said, that's absolutely wrong. We've got to change the way we think about that. Matter of fact, it used to take 6 months to get permits and to do building and do many things for many companies, especially manufacturing. I reduced that 6-month permitting process down to 60 days to make sure that you can open your doors, you can expand, you can do what you need, you know, and I changed the culture. And now no longer is it our employees are looking at our businesses and manufacturers like they're the enemy, like it's your job to prove to us that you should be in Aurora. It's our job to prove to you that, you know, you're welcome in our city, and we are worthy to, you know, have you setting up shop and provide a strong economy, you know, in our community. And it's been extremely effective, which is why our motto now for Aurora is we are open for business. That's the same motto that we need for Illinois. That's why we added 1.7 million square feet of manufacturing in the first 2 years of my time as mayor, you know, because we recognize the value of what you have to offer. And as governor, I will make sure I recognize your value and, again, ensure your success so the state's successful.
Thanks, Mayor. Now for the second question. Next to payroll, TMA members tell us one of the most pressing expenses is energy. Last fall, Governor Pritzker signed into law a bill requiring the state to abandon all non-renewable energy by 2050. All coal-fired plants and natural gas plants will be phased out by 2045. The renewable requirements are nearly impossible for our members to meet as they deal with other manufacturing industry challenges. What solutions to the difficult to fulfill mandates would an Irvin administration offer our TMA small to mid-sized manufacturing company members? Mayor?
Absolutely, and that's a very good question. And as I travel throughout, you know, especially central and southern Illinois, you know, and talk to some of our energy, some of our folks that are in the industry, the energy industry, you know, I've heard, you know, I visited a coal mine, you know, and talked about, you know, the importance of coal and the fact that we have so many deposits here in the state of Illinois that based on our location and based on our deposits of coal and oil, you know, that, you know, we could potentially be energy independent. However, this governor has decided that instead of striking a balance and making sure that we protected the jobs in our industry, energy industry, and made sure that we sustained, who we are, and making sure we're energy independent in the state of Illinois. He went the exact opposite direction, where he wanted to throw all in with solar, all in with what he calls clean energy. But there's got to be a balance. You can't just cut one off before the other one, is up and running. Sometimes the wind don't blow, for windmills. Sometimes the sun don't shine, for our solar. But we always need gas to drive our cars. We always need, to burn coal properly, to sustain some of our, our factories and needs for energy in that respect. So what I would say is we've got to strike a balance. People assume that Republicans don't, want clean energy and don't want to protect the environment. Look, Republicans have children and families and are looking toward the future as well. But what we do is we have to make sure that we do things intelligently, and we don't just have knee-jerk reactions to cater to, the far left ideology of let's just shut down all the oil and coal and, everything that we deem is dirty. This has been the bedrock of, all of our economies, in the United States of America, almost, since, the gas engine was developed, and created. So again, if we can put a man on the moon and we can send a rover to Mars, we can figure out how to burn coal and oil, a whole lot cleaner. We just have to have the political will to want to do that and not just do a knee jerk and cut off our arm to despite our hand. So what I would do as governor is I would pull back some of those very restrictive laws that were signed in the bills that were signed into law by J.B. Pritzker, and strike a balance. Actually bring our energy leaders to the table. Don't make these decisions without him, without the leaders in the industry. Bring them to the table and let's talk about what we can do together, all the stakeholders, what we can do together to ensure that we can harvest our energy, the energy deposits we have right here in our own state, instead of trucking in and piping it in. Use what we've got here to make us energy independent. How do we make sure we burn, our fossil fuels a whole heck of a lot cleaner? And let's be an industry leader on that. And, let's make sure we protect the jobs of, the folks in the energy industry. It's important. Without striking that balance, we become a state that, is wanting and needing for other states to support us. When we are the state of Illinois, the 6th largest state in the union, used to be the 5th. We keep losing population under J.B. Pritzker. But the 6th largest state in the union, the land of Lincoln, we've got to start acting like it, recognize who we are, our position in the country, out of the 49 states, our natural resources, and capitalize.
Thanks, Mayor. And the third question is, the Illinois legislators' voting record is dismal concerning the effect of public policy on Illinois small to mid-sized manufacturers. In TMA's most recent legislative scorecard, just 21 out of 118 House members voted with TMA's position at least 75% of the time, and only 12 of the 59 Illinois Senate members voted with TMA. How would an Irvin administration work to reverse the state legislature's negativity towards TMA's small to mid-sized manufacturers? And how could TMA help you in that effort? Mayor?
Well, thank you very much. That's a great question. And, I absolutely disagree with the decisions of the legislature in voting against manufacturing and the importance that manufacturing offers to the Illinois state economy. What we've got to do again is make sure we bring the stakeholders to the table and actually have a conversation with them. All our manufacturing, companies and owners, all they want to do is do their business and do it well. They want to, make sure their employees are taken care of, and doing a good job working for them, making sure that, they're making a decent profit, be able to pay their employees and pay their overhead and bills, and make sure they're doing something good for our state and our country. That's why these manufacturers create something out of nothing, because you want to make a difference. So you need a governor that's going to actually support you, and show you that we appreciate what you do, that you're building something, creating something, making a difference. Whether your part is one piece that goes to a hole that makes an engine work, or you complete all the pieces of the puzzle together to make sure that our cars run, or our McDonald's gets its chicken nugget formed exactly correctly. These are the things that you guys do to make sure that, this economy runs. So we can't make any decisions at all without making sure that what we do does or does not affect you. And I'll take it to, I don't want to just say that we don't affect you negatively. I want to make sure the decisions we make affect you positively. So again, bringing the stakeholders and the leaders to the table, all the leaders of TMA, saying, look, this is our decisions we need to make, on behalf of the state. How does it affect you? Positively, negatively? How does it affect you? And matter of fact, every single bill that comes through Springfield, before the governor signs it, there should be an attachment to it saying, how does this affect manufacturing? How does, before I sign this bill, how does this affect agriculture before I sign this bill? And don't just make these knee-jerk decisions that negatively affects a whole industry without bringing the industry to the table. That makes absolutely no sense to me. To me, everything I'm talking about, about supporting businesses like manufacturing is common sense. Supporting a company like Heats, supporting a company like HM Manufacturing that I visited just yesterday, supporting, manufacturing companies that I visited throughout the state. To me, this is common sense. I'm hearing common sense ain't so uncommon anymore, but we're going to bring common sense back to governing here in the state of Illinois. We're going to return this to the true land of Lincoln again and bring pride back to Illinois. And one of the first things we do is supporting our manufacturing. That is one of the bedrocks, foundations of our economic success in the state, and making sure, again, you're successful, so we're successful. But you will have a seat at the table and a voice and an ear to bend when I'm governor, to make sure that nothing we do affects your business, and everything, every decision we make gives you a positive benefit versus, a negative.
Thanks so much, Mayor. All right, now it's time for questions and answers from TMA members. For those of you who are on your computers, or if you're using the mobile app, you can type your question and submit it through the questions tab on the GoToWebinar control panel. I'll read the questions and ask Mayor Irvin to answer them. In the meantime, I'll ask Mayor Irvin the first question that was pre-submitted from a TMA member. The question is, on the November election ballot, Illinois voters will once again be asked whether or not to amend the state constitution. The proposed amendment would effectively ban and financially punish any employer for encouraging his or her employees to reject unionization of their businesses. No minimal requirements for business size or number of employees involved. Free market experts suggest the effort would require non-union TMA members to restructure their companies to include third-party negotiators. How will you be voting on this ballot question, and why have you chosen to vote that way, Mayor?
So wait, just so I'm clear of the question, you're talking about the forced, not forced
the
vaccine.
Right to Work Amendment. No, this is the Right to Work Amendment.
Got you. Right to Work Amendment. What I've often said is that, I never advocate for the changing of the Constitution. I will say that, I do, and I've worked with companies that are union shops and companies that are merit shops, non-union, as far as in the city of Aurora as mayor. And matter of fact, I've gotten endorsements from merit organizations like ABC, as well as union organizations like 150 Operating Engineers, one of the largest unions throughout our state. So what I can say is this. I want to make sure that I do protect the rights of employees if they decide they want to collect bargain. But as management, I'm always going to negotiate hard. But those companies that do not have collective bargaining, or do not have union shops that are merit shops, they have to get the same benefit and opportunities to protect their employees, or work with their employees as the unions do. So I'm again, I'm normally opposed to change the Constitution, but that vote won't come to me as governor. I don't get a vote on it. I get to sign the bill, and when the bill comes through, I want to make sure that I protect both the employees' rights to collective bargain, as well as the merit company's ability not to be union if they choose to.
Thanks, Mayor. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, please type your question in the questions tab on the GoToWebinar control panel. We do have a question from a TMA member that just came in. It looks like a follow-up to this last question. It says, Illinois being one of the strongest union states, what suggestions or ideas do you have to help manufacturing owners and unions work better together? Mayor?
No, and that's a great idea, and that's something that actually I've been very successful in doing as mayor of the city of Aurora, and I would be And I know I'd be just as successful as governor because I've already created relationships with the union leadership throughout this state. I'm running as I'm a Republican, and Republicans traditionally don't get support from the unions the Democrats normally do. However, when I ran for mayor, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't get support from the unions either. My Democratic, the Democratic person that I beat in the campaign, my opponent, got that support. However, immediately once I was elected, I went to the unions. I said, look, Aurora is a blue city. We've got a history of being blue collar workers and union families. We have prevailing wage already, on the books as far as our ordinances. So let us create. I know you didn't support me, but we're going to be doing a lot of building in Aurora over my next term. So I'm going to need support from the unions, especially our labor unions, to step up and help us to build the city. So let's create a relationship necessary. And I won't. I did not said I will not. I will not, force PLAs on developers coming to the city, but I will give our union shops a seat at the table so they can make their case to the developers coming in about making sure they used union labor or not. And it worked well. So what I did was I brought them in, their stakeholders, gave them a seat at the table, communicated with them about what we're going to do in the city of Aurora, and how we can work successfully together. And I'll do that exact same thing as governor of the state of Illinois, which is why, I've got the endorsement from, merit organizations like ABC, and union organizations like Local 150, operating engineers. It's important that, we bring folks to the table and communicate effectively. And then that's what I think has happened over the years. These politicians have become so siloed, so extreme, to the far left, or even far right. And they won't communicate with each other and get things done in the middle unless there's somebody in the middle that communicates and can bring folks together, on the same page. We're not going to be able to get anything done. I've been able to get a lot done in Aurora, more, as I said, more economic development in 4 years than other mayors have done collective in 40 years. That's because of my willingness and to communicate and bring folks to the table to get the job done. And that's exactly what I'll do as governor.
Thanks, Mayor. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, please type your question in the questions tab on the GoToWebinar control panel. We do have another question submitted from a TMA member. Looks like another follow-up. If elected governor, you would most likely have to deal with a legislature controlled by Democrats. How would you work with them to get things done? Mayor?
That's a very good question, and one that I've been dealing with my whole career as elected official. Aurora is a Democratic stronghold. Most of my aldermen, are Democrat and live in Democrat areas. And I've been able to work across the aisle to get things done with them the whole time I've been mayor, as well as when for 10 years I was an alderman. And I'll do the same thing as governor of Illinois. And I'll take another step as mayor of the second largest city in the state. I've had to go to Springfield personally myself and communicate and lobby and create relationships with Democratic leadership to bring resources and money back to the city of Aurora. And I've been able to do that effectively, by working across the aisle. As governor of this state, I will definitely work across the aisle. Now, for a Republican governor to win, the governor is going to need a lot of folks to vote for him. You're going to need Republicans, you're going to need independents, and you're going to need Democratic crossover. I'll be able to get that, and I'm the only candidate on the Republican side who'll be able to get that based on my relationships and working across the aisle to get things done. Those governors that say that they're going to, draw this line in the sand and not work with folks, until folks come onto their side, I think that's wrong. The government, in its nature, is about negotiating and making sure we get things done. I always quote Thomas Jefferson. He has a quote that I love, that I've said for years: the care of people's lives and their happiness must be the first and only legitimate objective of good government. So any good government is going to work on behalf of the people, is going to work with whoever they need to get the job done. And that's what I'll do. I've been working across the aisle, but I'm going to take a different step. I'm going to take an extra step that my opponents aren't going to take on the Republican side. When I get to the general, I'm not just going to be working to get myself elected. I'm going to be working to get Republicans up and down the ballot elected. We're going to make sure we have close to 100 House seats contested, making sure we get rid of the Democratic supermajority. Because if you have a governor Republican governor and a Republican legislator not in the super minority, then we can finally push forward policy, manufacturing policy that affects manufacturing. We can push that forward and start to make a difference. And even if we don't come out of super majority, which I know we will, but if we don't, I'm still going to be effectively working across the aisle to get things done and make sure that I represent the interest of the residents of the state of Illinois, including our businesses, including our manufacturing business as well.
Thanks so much, Mayor. We have time for one last question, and then we'll do a closing. The question is, what will you do to root out corruption at all levels of government?
And that's a great question. The reality is this, we know that corruption has prevented us from moving forward and advancing the way we need in the state of Illinois. And that's because we have our elected officials that are looking out for their own self-interest over the interests of the folks that elected in the office. Just a little bit about my background in service. The whole reason that I am, running for governor, that I'm mayor of the second largest city, is because I have service in my heart. From the time that I served in the United States Army and went to war for our country in Desert Shield and Desert Storm, the time that I was a prosecutor, putting criminals behind bars and making our community safe and improving the quality of life in neighborhoods just like the one I grew up in public housing, whether it's being an alderman or for 10 years, or the mayor of my hometown, the second largest city in the state of Illinois. It's about serving others. It's about making a difference, and I'll do that. One of the first things that we did when I became mayor is, the mayor of the city of Aurora is the person that is responsible for reviewing any ethical violations that come through the city, even if the mayor creates those ethical violations. And I thought that was wrong. So we created a third-party agency and contracted with DuPage County and said, look, we want you guys, so we can be totally transparent, open, and above board. We want you guys to review any allegations of fraud, any allegations that corruption that come through the city of Aurora. So it doesn't seem as though we're covering things up or not being transparent at all. And it's worked out tremendously. We've put everybody on notice that we've got an outside agency that's looking at what's going on with corruption, and we're going to do the same thing for the state of Illinois. Right now, in the state of Illinois, our legislators don't even have to provide FOIAs. FOIA is a Freedom of Information Act. It doesn't apply to our legislators. We want to make that apply and make sure everything we do is above board and out in the open for everybody to see. None of us in elected office is beyond reproach and beyond question. We want to make sure we bring the I believe the Inspector General back to the audit general back to the legislature, make sure that they were always auditing and checking and balancing what we do in our legislature and in the governor's office to make sure that we're doing things right. And what this does is not necessarily a gotcha, and try to catch somebody doing wrong. It just sets a standard that we want in the state of Illinois of excellence, of professionalism. And we all grow to meet that standard, just like we, reach that high standard in the city of Aurora. I know during this campaign, every time you turn on the TV, you see, these negative ads against me and these conspiracy theories. My integrity and ethical background has never been questioned, until J.B. Pritzker is, trying to make it an issue in this campaign so I don't advance to the general election. But hopefully people can see through that and see who's paying for all these negative ads and recognize that you don't have to take my word for it. All you got to do is look at my background and record, and you'll see exactly what I'm able and capable of doing for the state of Illinois and the high ethical standards that I'll bring based on, what I've done with the city of Aurora. We've done so many things successful, and we've done it all out in the open and all. We need to do that exact same thing for the state of Illinois. Let's get it.
Froze there for a second. Really quickly, I know you have to run. Do you have any quick closing thoughts for TMA members?
Yes, let me just say this, we've got asking you less than a week left for this election, June 28th. So I'm asking and all your employees to go out and vote for change, not change for the sake of change, but change for the better. You have to vote your interest. Who is going to actually look out for the interest of your manufacturing companies and manufacturing throughout the state of Illinois? And don't just take someone's word for it. Look at their history and background. As I said, in my first 2 years as mayor, I added 1.7 million square feet of manufacturing because I recognize the value that it has to my community. I recognize the value that it has to the entire state. As governor, I will definitely have your back. And one of the things we'll focus on is to make you successful, we'll reduce crime, and we'll make the community safe so people want to drive to work. We'll reduce taxes and gas so they want to drive, to work every day and be employed. We'll make sure that we reduce the taxes and red tape that prevent you doing your business and being successful. We will bring pride back to the state of Illinois and return this to true land of Lincoln again. But I need your support to get there, and I need your votes, and I need all your families and friends and employees' votes on June 28th, so we can finally make a difference in the state. We can all rise up and take our state back. Thank you very much. My name is Richard Irvin, running for governor, and I hope for your vote next Tuesday.
Thanks, Mayor. That'll do it for today's virtual briefing. I want to thank Mayor Irvin for joining us today, along with all of our TMA members on the webinar. The election is just 6 days away. Please make a plan to vote early or vote on election day. Thanks again, and have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, kind sir. Good to see you, Rick.